The Deep Talk with Mr. Henry.
Welcome to yet another fantastic episode of The Deep Talk. First of all, njagala kweyanza okulaba ogubanga gwe mulungu ogusose okuneyungako mbeera naawe every Sunday on Galaxy TV Chikonkone, and you can also catch me on my YouTube platform. It's Mr. Henry The Deep Talk, and Galaxy TV as well. Of course, you can join in, comment, and let us know what you think about the show, which guests you would love to see on the show, and any feedback is very welcome. I have an icon. I have a legend. There are very few people that have actively been involved in the Ugandan music industry. And we just recently had a concert. You know, musajja abasinga muloza tamanyi Luganda era olwaleero tugenda kwogera Luganda lwokka. I have Mr. Chigozi, Navio. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this.
Man, me too. Today it's a different type of show.
Oh yeah.
We're going to turn the tables on Mr. Henry. We're going to get into deep. What makes Henry tick? Who is he? And why did he come to be where he is today? Now, the childhood, not much is talked about. What your first impressions were of media? Who are the first personalities that caught your eye? And what made you say, this is the line of work I'm going in?
It was one day like this in the evening. I think I was watching a show on one of those early end TV shows, and I see you with Peter Miles. I was like, man, these tall guys. You had Ruckus, remember? Ruckus. And I was like, one day I will sit down with that guy and ask him, and here we are.
Imagine. You know, we are meant to inspire others.
I know.
So I'm glad the commission, just 30%, put it in every first of the month. And we're okay.
To tumble it out.
Yes, sir.
I saw you also started a TV career, by the way.
Can you imagine?
Before we even dive deep into that, Mr. Chigozi.
Yes, sir.
How has the journey been so far? 20 years.
Oh, my goodness.
20 years.
20.
It's not small.
It's not. So you mean the 25 Klear Kut minus 5 for Navio?
There's also that one. Yeah.
The journey has been amazing. It's been the most humbling experience. You know, you always think that you're big somewhere until you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's why people always ask me about why I remain humble. It's because I'm not there yet. I think even if I was number one in the world, I'd still be comparing myself with someone from the past. Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, you know. So for me, I think music more than anything has been a humbling experience. Yeah.
Let's start from why music in the first place. The initiation of the 20 years, the inception, the birth of Navio. I
think for me, everything is always a vibe. It's always a vibe, and family was definitely the biggest thing that pushed me there. Now, you know, I always like music, but you know, when I say that my family are obsessed, even if you go and ask Dr. Maggie now what is happening in every celeb's life, she knows. You know, she's you know, always up to date with the songs, etc. Especially the guys, you know, top 10, top 20 guys. She really has an interest in music, and that's worldwide. You know, and when it comes to traditional music and things like that, you know, my dad was, you know, also about the music. All his family, all his brothers were, you know, either singers in the choir or played an instrument. All of them are amazing dancers. Apart from me and him.
I've seen you dancing now, Lita.
It's a bit stiff, really. I don't know. There's one cup bone missing, but when I get that, when I find what it is and put it in, I'm going to be good to go. So yeah, I think it comes from family. You know, my brother as well. Now that's where the hip hop influence comes in. You know, he's blasting his music, you know, behind the house, and I'm hearing all those sounds, and I'm starting to understand what a beat is, what a flow is, you know, because he was playing artists like Naughty by Nature. That's stretch. It's the most complicated flow. Artists like Fushnikins, if you've ever heard of them, they're very, you know,
That's
not
so
very
deep
known.
Down in hip hop.
Yeah. And then on my sister's side, she's doing all the R&B influence. So you have all of those four corners. I think those are the four corners that make up Navio.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear an Njogeriza, that's my father's influence.
Okay.
When you hear me do something international, that's my mom's influence. When you hear me, you know, trying to sing and do the melodies, you know, and the stage craft, the stage presence, that's probably my sister's influence.
Yeah.
And when you hear me doing the bars, you know, the flows and the real rap, that's my brother's influence. So I'd say all of those guys really push me to, you know, be the Navio that I am now.
So where does it start from? Does it start from school? Is it after school? What's the story behind that?
I think it's after school. Well, during school, you know. So I'm 10 years old. Of course, my father's passed away.
Sorry.
And I wasn't focused at that point in time, you know. And I think my family, all my people around could feel it, you know. It's when you've, you know, been with your father for only 10 years, you're only starting to come out from, you know, your mother's shell kind of, and really get to start to bond with the guy. So I felt like it was a deep opportunity. And even as a kid, I was like, you know, I'm just getting to know the guy, his real personality, you know, and then he was gone. So I think there was that hole, and I think people could feel it.
Was he? What was he like as a person?
Charisma, basically the opposite of me. He, you know, when he'd walk into a room, he had that presence.
Yes.
You know, he always had the kaunda suit, perfectly ironed.
Yes.
You know, he's an old Budonian, so the trousers, the shoe was, you know what I mean, watch. He was a swag guy. He was doing the, you know, the big shades, you know, before anyone was really, you know. And yeah, he looked like sometimes something out of a mafia movie. No, but really nice suits, really well put together guy. And then also when he's talking to you, he relates to everyone well. He was very dominant, very alpha. And he was, you know, he was a force of nature, I think, you know, more than anything else. Yeah, and funny, hilarious. Like whether it was Luganda,
you were
English.
robbed just 10 years,
Can
and
you
you didn't get to interact with such a
human being.
I know, I can imagine.
Anyway.
You are number what in the children of Doctor?
Number 3. But I think you know how it is with African families. You know, my mom had, you know, a brother who passed away here, a brother who passes away there. So all in all, I think under our house we maybe had 12 kids.
It was a big house,
it was, but three for my mother. So that's just one brother, one sister, but we are more like 12 in the house. That's how it felt growing up.
So back to the inception of the music. So you're still telling me 10 years, you feel like something is missing. Now where does the music switch get flipped on?
Just the ability to do it. So now I've been hit with all this music, right? From father, mother, brother, sister. I start to actually get a feeling for what rap is about. I know about bars, etc. And one day I'm just in the living room, I'm doing my thing, you know, and I start doing a rhyme. I don't give a jack because I'm a daddy Mac and I'm coming in with a shack attack.
That's like Will
you know?
Smith style.
You know what I mean?
Then, yeah.
So I'm doing that miggity Mac, jiggity jiggity, you know, that old school stuff. And so my mom's like, hey, which song is that? And I'm like, no, that's just my own stuff. She's like, what? She's like, that's your own. She's like, come here, come closer. So we can, come stand here. That's whose rhyme is that? I was like, that's me. I wrote it. I show her the piece of paper and she's like, what? So we take a walk. Rubaga down Lunguja. There's a neighborhood studio.
Oh yeah.
They're owned by Hope Mukasa. And we knock on the gate. We enter. You know, we say hi. They know each other. You know, my mom and Hope also knew my father. And she's like, he has some rhymes.
Yeah.
So Hope bursts out laughing. Oh, that is so good. Good, very good boy. Well done. Let's hear them. So I rap, and he's like, there's something there. I don't know what it is. There's something there.
Yeah.
So now he calls someone who's now more with the urban scene. Calls him over, you know, Steven comes, you know, and he hears me now. Steven is a young man. He's like 16, 17 years old maybe, before he's gone to the States. And this producer Steven, I think he called himself producer Steven. Here's my rhyme. He has his bags with him. He's supposed to go to the airport to catch a flight to the States.
Okay.
Puts his bags down and says, let me do a beat for this kid. there's something there.
Yeah.
So we go in, we do the song, I am what I am, and this is what I is. None of your biz. The song's called None of Your Biz or something.
Yeah.
We do the song, he catches a flight. Steven we're mentioning is by the names now of Steve Jean.
Oh my God.
Yes. So he's the one who produces my first song at 10 years old.
Jesus Christ.
Steve Jean, yeah. And he went to the States, and the rest is history.
So if it wasn't for your mother that particular day, if your mother was not in a good mood that day, we wouldn't have Navio as an artist today.
Or a bad one, whichever mood she was in, I don't know. But yeah, we wouldn't have.
You know that there's a time in your life where you were staying in SA.
Yeah.
Why didn't you decide to, just be there and start a career there? Why come back to Uganda? And how does the Klear Kut come to life?
I think South Africa. I didn't stay there. I'm not a big fan of guns and violence.
They were there then?
Oh my goodness.
It's always been like that?
Yep, it's always been like that.
Okay.
I think even when I was there, it was kind of like a upsurge in violence and whatnot. So for those 6 years, of course, it's like living in New York, right? It's like living in any metropolitan city in the world. The roads, the systems, the cars, the food, everything is so up to date. But I knew that it wasn't home, first of all.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wouldn't be able to feel at home, knowing that I'm on the African continent.
Yeah.
And because I'm black, I'm being treated a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm black, I can go to certain places and not go to other places. And it's not even in the law anymore, but just in public, you know it.
Yeah.
I go there, there's going to be an altercation, there's going to be a fight, and people are going to be like, why did you go there? Everyone knows you shouldn't go there. So they're like, it's not a law, but you know that that's a white club, that's a black club, that's what they'd call colored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really offends Americans to use that, but they're still using that to talk about people who are brown. You know, so I'd be considered black. So someone lighter than me, colored. And that is one thing that the white man did down there, was that divide and conquer. For us, when we see a difference, when we see someone from China or whatever, we look at their attributes.
Yes.
You know, so we look up and say, hey, does this guy know some kung fu? We don't do it in a racist way.
Yes, yes.
For them, it's like they see it as a real difference, and a difference is a threat. So I knew I couldn't live there. You know, beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful music, dancing. The club is always lit, but you know you're going out and there will be blood. You know, so whenever that's why it's always funny to me whenever people are here and they talk about gangster stuff to me. I'm always like, like.
Do you know what you actually do?
You know,
about?
yeah, it gets
you
crazy.
Haven't seen nothing.
Yeah, South Africa, you know, Johannesburg, Chicago, like these guys are going through like epidemics of violence.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
How long were you there?
6 years, almost going on 7 years.
Oh yeah, but you always knew you would come back home.
Yeah, and I was pretty focused when I was there. Like I'd fallen in love with basketball.
Oh yeah.
Before going there, and that's why. So I was at Aga Khan for a while, and it came an opportunity to go to this school in South Africa, which had like a really good, healthy basketball situation going on.
Oh yeah.
So they brought me into the team. I was playing state basketball when I was down there, playing for the state. And this is when I was like, like 16, 17.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, my skills elevated and whatnot. I was picked for All-Star, which is top 5 players in whatever I did. The next year I did MVP, and the year after that I did MVP, which is basically the best player in South Africa.
Definitely.
So too bad I couldn't use those skills for Uganda, because you people want to make me a rap star.
It's what you chose. It's what you decided to do. So let's talk about the Klear Kut. I mean, we could sit down with Navio for an entire week. So Klear Kut, how does it get born? How did you get the idea? How did you guys meet? And
so we have members in the group. Abba, Langman, JB, Navio, all in one school in Kenya. The Myth, Papito, at school in Uganda. Abba leaves our school in Kenya, goes to a school in Uganda, Hillside.
Okay.
He meets the other two. Me and JB come back for holidays.
Yes.
He's very interested in hip-hop. by that time, even though I was the one who had released it, not released, but the one who had done a song with Steve Jean 6 years before.
Yes, yes.
Or 4 years before. I dropped the hip hop thing. I was like on sports, rugby, hockey, athletics, basketball, cricket. Like I was a sports guy. So they were more excited about hip hop than I was, definitely. When we started, I was more like, I want to say hype man, managerial.
Yes.
That was kind of my role. But we started, going to these nights. And he said, hey, I have these 2 other friends who rap.
Okay.
In Hillside, let's all meet up. So we'd meet up on Wilson Road, a place called Deviate.
Oh.
We go in there, groups, MC Yala, first of all. Milka.
Okay.
Like the females, they were doing it big at that point, and Yala's still doing it big all around the world. On the other side, Lyrical G, God MC.
Yeah.
Bataka, the original squad was Momo, Momo, Crazy Native, who is now Saba Saba.
Oh yeah.
And Lyrical G. Yeah, later on, a few years afterwards, then you have Baba linking up with them.
Baba Luke.
Yes. Yeah. So you have him linking with the group. You have Sylvester Abrams. You have it was just a whole
The GNLs were not there yet.
No, they were never
But
Deviate.
Forest was
No, that came in the 2000s,
Yes.
5, 6s, those ones. Maybe even later than that.
Yeah.
But man, it was a surge in hip hop. So we met up. It was a talent show. We get on stage. We do our thing. The microphone cable was like 2 meters long. So where the DJ is where we're rapping from. When you're trying to rap, and so that really developed artists, showbiz. Like you need to make a statement, but you only have 2 meters to do it. How are you gonna make a mark? And that place was like training, because Sylvester and Abrams are coming on.
They're gonna go hard.
Lyrical G, she's gonna kill it. Viboyo.
Oh.
Viboyo was #1 for a long time.
He was a rapper.
What? He is a rapper.
Viboyo.
He's still a rapper. You need to hear his latest album, by the way. Big shout outs to Viboyo.
When we hear him in Olude Olinge against the Nobu.
Yeah, we were at Benon's house with Zawi, Vinka, and the whole gang, and we did like an album listening, like a few days ago.
Okay.
For his album, amazing.
Let's wait for it. Yeah.
He was the God MC. Used to come on without his shirt. I was telling guys, that guy used to be ripped. Guys are like, wapi. Yeah, so now he's back, thank goodness, doing some push-ups. Viboyo, well done. So yeah, Vision Beyond Your Own was there. Crazy Natives, Kid Brothers were also rapping and dancing. Maurice Kiria was there dancing and also a rapper. It was just like all the future guys. Michael Ross.
Maurice Kiria was a rapper.
And a dancer. Yes, in fact, him and Ross are the ones dancing in All I Want to Know. So it was just a big conglomerate. Urban Life, we had the Urban Life guys as well. Anyway, I can go on about that.
I know.
But it was about competitive togetherness. So 1 week we have like maybe 50 chaps watching. Next week 200. Next week 300.
Yeah.
So now it became like an obligato. Literally, Afrigo had their thing going on weekly.
Yes.
We had a hip hop show.
Yes.
600-700 people every single week. So hip hop was really strong at this point in time. Problem? We're all kids.
I hear you.
D&D comes over. This is Dowdy and Damba. They hear us rapping and they come through with a deal. Like an American label. They're like, listen, we have a deal. We know we can make some money with you guys. ETC. Now, mind you, JB is 13 turning 14. I am 14 turning 15. It's like, we want to record you guys.
Are we doing about like early 2000s, 1990 something?
Yeah, 99, 2000, around there. So they're like, we want to record an album for you. So we go in the studio. This is after Steve Jean has just recorded Nothing Wrong with a Little Dough for us. Yeah. We go and record a song with they assigned 2 artists who are in a group together. IJ. Juliana Kanyomozi, Irene Namubiru. So Juliana sings the chorus on All I Want to Know.
Yes.
Immediate. Takes off. The song actually wasn't even big here yet. Ugandans were like, it's too urban, it's too this. So now we go to Kenya. Now it blows up from there, and the wave just came back. From Tanzania, from East Africa TV, the wave comes back so strong. Ugandans are like, "Well, our boys, yeah, we're the ones who taught them actually."
Yes.
And yeah, so we basically made history with that song. A few months later, Kora Awards is now flying us first class down to South Africa. We're sitting next to the likes of Kofi Olomide, Oliver Mutukutsi,
and you're so young.
the Papa Wembas over who was around. Like, we're seeing royalty in the industry. This is when Fali was a dancer for Kofi, I think.
Oh yeah.
So it was really the genesis and beginning of
The
our
Klear Kut,
dominance. Yeah, but like all students that age, you gotta go back to school.
So that's why you dropped the ball somehow.
Yes, yeah, we had to go back to school. Basically, with the first group, I think we were paid by Jenkins Mukasa. Was the first one to pay a group 1
Mr.
million.
Jenkins, big up on yourself.
1 million shillings in Uganda.
At that time, that was money.
I'm telling you, B&H,
Yes.
were the guys sponsoring everything. And so they paid us 1 mil, and I can remember those days splitting up between 4 or 5 of us. What? 200K?
Do you think, or do you honestly think, if you guys had stuck together as a group and decided to go serious about this thing, you would
Yeah, all the way. Like, I'm talking like American label, touring, world renowned, definitely. But it's such a gamble.
Oh yeah.
As well, to put all of that aside, who knows who would be alive right now, who would be, because you thrust 15, 16-year-olds into the American industry.
True.
What happens? But we did have some interest from outside, and a few connections as well.
Okay.
So we thought we could do some things out there, but education was first and foremost.
Definitely.
Geography as well. People end up getting married, hooked up, linked up at the end of university, so that spreads Klear Kut all over the globe. And that was that.
Let's talk about a little bit of the reception when Navio decided to become solo now. Stand out as Navio in your own. How were you received? Because you mentioned earlier that when you did the song with Juliana, the one that blew up in Kenya, do you feel like singing mostly in English was not received the way it should have by the Ugandan community?
It wasn't that really. I think our first problem was the stations themselves.
The media.
They used to play outside music. So they'd try and play a few local bands from here, Jimmy Katumba, Afrigo.
Yes.
But for the most part, they wanted to play outside music, especially when you said hip hop. They would say we don't play local hip hop. We don't play local raga, reggae, dancehall. The Bebes were also suffering.
Yes.
To get their stuff. Kamili, those guys were also suffering to get constant and consistent rotation here. So it wasn't a thing that was just hip hop. But also back then, there wasn't such a stigma about it. I think you've had a lot of insecure media guys come, and then they look down on what they can do.
Yeah.
So you have guys who speak mostly English or whatever, look down on guys who speak in Luganda. You have guys, guys who are on air, couldn't speak English, be like, that's not our stuff. That Luzungu stuff is not home. In our day, no one had a problem. When we got on stage, the same reception for, Sylvester and Abrams was the same reception for Klear Kut. Was the same reception for Bataka coming on in Luganda next. It was the same reception for Urban Life coming in English. People didn't care. It was about talent. Are you talented?
Yes.
That was what it was about. And I think losing sight of that has actually delayed us a lot.
Why did we lose the sight? What happened along the way? Besides the insecure media guys that you talk about.
I think people felt like they couldn't be properly represented. So for example, you have someone who speaks Luganda only. He goes out, you're like, this person can represent us. But as soon as you put him in front of Phil Collins or Michael Jackson or whatever, and the guys want to hear lyrics and have something that they can market immediately, it becomes an issue. When you manage to balance that, that's when it becomes a beautiful thing. You saw Unduo being able to give guys a Luzungu chorus with his indigenous. Angelique Kidjo,
yes,
able to give her, English whatevers and her choruses in her indigenous language.
Yeah.
That is what makes worldwide smashes.
Yeah.
We need some sort of accessibility. So we can't act here, just stand here and act like we don't speak some form of English in the country.
Yes.
Because we're being hired, most of the jobs in the Middle East and whatnot, Ugandans are being hired because we speak good English. So that's not something we should run away from. Like Nigeria, we should try and harness it, bring it back to our side.
Yeah.
We can always infuse what we do.
Yeah.
Like on my album, guys are like, oh, you're such an English rapper. You look at the titles, you're like, hey, song number 1, Ngalo. Song number 2, Bugubu. 3, Saloni. Okay. You're looking at my titles and you're seeing, oh, the guy is actually trying to represent. So, plus, of course, me going on the BBC dressed in a kanzu.
Definitely.
I'm always I should say kanzus.
Yes.
From golden to red to pink. I don't every kanzu.
It's not that you wouldn't have done other outfits, but you want to represent.
Exactly. So there's always ways you can represent. And I feel like guys became too about who's representing who. It's like, you're always going to be dope. But when it comes to, we should always think of ourselves as a unit. If 50 Cent comes here tomorrow and he wants to hear, someone in his line in hip hop, who are you going to put there to represent us? Like Conscience is here. Who are you going to put there? You're not going to send a Navio to Conscience or to open for Conscience, which I have done before. It's cool. But the reggae guys have to be considered first because they're speaking the same thing, So I just feel like we all need to think of ourselves as a unit, because some guys will be there, even promoters. You bring Jay-Z here, but then you go and book a band. You go and book 3 bands.
Yeah.
You can't even put one hip-hop guy. Like, that does not make sense. You're not building up a genre.
Yeah.
You're just using whatever artists has come in Rick Ross to make money, but you're not building up your guys on the ground.
Yeah.
That should be a Taka performing. That should be a Fefe performing. You know what I mean? If a Rick Ross comes into town. And I think they see it as an offense when the opposite happens.
Oh, yeah.
So we all need to just think of ourselves as a unit, and we'll go further.
It is the Deep Talk. We're still with Mr. Chigozie, and let me know what you think. It was after 20 years. Imagine being singing for 20 years. What lessons do you learn
At the top.
at the top? By the way, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna dive deep into that. It's the Deep Talk to Val.
The Deep Talk with Mr. Henry.